It is rare to find so much industry expertise all in one spot, right at your fingertips. The world of public adjusting and insurance claims can be a scary one. This changes now. That's why we built this podcast for you, where all the industry experts converge. Let us be your guide to education and personal growth. You're listening to Because Experience Matters, the show for public adjusters who want to up their game. Hosted by the 2021 Public Adjuster of the Year, Jack Hanks. How much money are you leaving on the table by not knowing all the approaches you can take to maximize the payouts to the insured and profits for your business? On this show, you will discover untapped strategies to become an unstoppable public adjuster and an effective advocate for your clients. In every episode, Jack brings on all the industry big dogs, including leading roofers, contractors, lawyers, accountants, and marketers. You'll access the insider scoop, real case studies, real obstacles, and actionable winning solutions. Let's jump in so that you can stop working hard and start working smart.
All right, guys, Jack Hanks, episode number 3, Because Experience Matters podcast. I'm very excited today. Stephen Bush from Stephen Bush Law Group in Jacksonville, Florida is our guest. And I've got to know Stephen and all his guys the last year or two through SVG. And we actually won an award together this year, which is kind of cool. So congratulations on that. And I'm excited to have you on today, man. I love what you're all about. And I think we have a real connection. I'm glad our firm's starting to work together too. It's pretty neat. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Same here. And congratulations to you, Mr. Public Adjuster of the Year.
Yeah.
I tell you what, you're the hardest working public adjuster I know. You stay on the road as much as I do.
Isn't that crazy? It's all, and we're going to talk about that too. I mean, I don't know how you not do that, right? I mean, we're licensed in 38 states, and we have 17 guys on the ground and growing every day. But man, we talked a little bit before we started recording. I like to talk about, man, entrepreneurship and all that stuff, how it just beats the living hell out of you sometimes, right? And I also want to talk about your journey, because I think why we get along so well, we have a similar background about, we both started as contractors and they got our asses kicked in on that and kind of moved down the road a little bit. So can you talk a little bit about basically your journey as a contractor and your experiences and how it just personally wears you down sometimes? And, even today as an attorney, I'm sure it does the same things. We have good days and bad days as well. And I go home some days and I'm not good to be around, bro.
Yeah. Today's been one of those days for me. I'm glad
I caught you on a bad day. This is perfect. So.
I've had a few things going on in here this morning that has caused me to, in other words, all my staff, everybody's doors closed today. Everybody's behind closed doors because I've been going through here raising hell. But yeah, so I was a certified indoor environmentalist. As a lot of people know, I have terrible allergies. I have asthma. And way back in the day, I became a certified indoor environmentalist to try to figure out why I was having so many respiratory issues and why I couldn't get over it. And so I was helping other people in that industry.
When was this?
Oh, golly, man. This was 1997, 98, 99, 2000, in that area. And but Hurricane Katrina came along. And when Hurricane Katrina came along, I was asked to go and help put the hospital there in Metairie back together.
Oh, wow.
My job was to oversee the operating room and get all the first floor together so that the government could come through. They would certify it as a clean environment and then let them begin opening the hospital back up. So I was on that team of people who were doing that. And that's really when I started learning about insurance and about contracting and that kind of thing, because right out of that, I didn't really have anything else to do. So I met this guy in New Orleans who got me into roofing, and he sort of was teaching me about roofs and stuff. And so then
there's your first downfall right there.
Yeah, right. And then I got a call to, hey, come to South Florida. And I went down there, and initially I was working with another contractor And I really learned a lot from this guy. And then he left the industry. But when he left all these claims laying there and all these files. And so my team and I, we picked it up. We started a contracting company from scratch. And eventually we became the #1 installer of the Metro stone coated steel in the country, out in West Broward,
Okay.
Pembroke Pines, Weston, out in that area, Sunrise. And for many years, we had a very successful contracting company, and it was in 3 states. We had an office in Georgia and an office in Houston.
Okay.
And you're right. That was really difficult running 3 companies in 3 different states, and it kept me on the road. But eventually, the laws started to change. See, this was back in the day when
Yeah.
you could get on the roof with the adjuster, and you and the
Boom, boom, boom,
adjuster
boom,
would
boom.
talk about it. Yeah, and he'd come off the ladder, go to his truck, write you a check,
Yeah.
hand you the check, you take it into the policyholder. They'd endorse it or send it to the mortgage company and
Yep.
write you a check to start getting the materials to the site.
I tell
And-
that story all the time. We did so many parking lot deals with these
Oh.
adjusters. We were rolling, and we would, back in the day, my background's similar. I was a restoration contractor in, I think, 7 states, and we were Travelers' only mold remediation vendor in New Mexico, Arizona, and California. We had trucks
Listen,
running 24/7.
John Miner probably doesn't remember this, but way back then he was working as an adjuster for State Farm. And he went to a house where I was late getting to. So I called him on the phone and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be late." He said, "Listen, you don't need to come. I'm going to buy the roof. Don't even come." And so back in those days, it wasn't
Yeah.
as controversial as it is now. And
What what do you think caused that change? I mean, I have my opinion. I want to hear yours. What turned the corner? Why is it so much more difficult now than it was when you and I were scrapping young restoration and contractors?
for the same reason why it's getting more difficult today. Because back then, if you'll think about it, we had Wilma, Faye, and Katrina back to
Boom,
back to
boom,
back,
boom, boom.
right? And then after Wilma, Faye, and Katrina, we had Hurricane Ike.
Yep.
So all those hurricanes together started to cause problems. It put stress on the insurance companies, put stress on their reserves and on their claims and litigation departments. And so when that happens, legislation starts to have to kick in, right? To kind of compensate, to balance it out. And so that's when they started coming up with the unlicensed practice of public adjusting laws.
Oopa.
And so immediately I said, "Oh shoot, we're going to have to do something here, or else we're going to get popped." And
Yep.
so I went back and became a public insurance adjuster. Well, naturally,
Your second mistake.
my second mistake. So when you become a public adjuster, you have to open a public adjusting firm, right? Well, I had offices in 3 states, so I opened up the public adjusting firm in multiple states. And so now we're running 2 businesses kind of side by side in multiple states. And the public adjusting firm, I was a public adjuster for 12 years. And I can
Wow.
tell you that I was a public adjuster longer than I was a contractor. So at the root of who I am a public adjuster. I
Right.
tell people all the time, I love public adjusters. I love contractors because that's what got me my start. That's who
Yep.
I know. That's what I know. And I enjoy talking to them and learning from them because they're boots on the ground.
Yep.
They're the people who know things first. And if you're not including them, and if you're not including them in your conversations, I think you're missing a larger picture of a piece of the pie. And so from public adjusting, things started to change a little bit. And we had a 10-year lull. And during that 10-year lull, where we really had no strong storms, I decided that I wanted a bigger stick. So I went back to law school.
Where'd you go to
and,
law school?
At Florida Coastal in Jacksonville.
Okay, cool.
And I have to say, it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. And I really felt like I got a good quality legal education there. I got accepted to 3 different law schools, but I chose.
How old were you,
Florida.
can I ask?
I was 40.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Man,
40.
good for you, man.
I went back. Yeah, but
Holy Christ.
yeah, I don't know why I did it so late in life, but I did. And I was 40. I was 45 when I went back.
Holy
I was-
moly.
Anyway, somewhere between 40 and
Yeah,
45.
yeah.
It's been a while now. I'd have to add it up and think about it, but I was definitely in my 40s. And now that I'm 56, I just had a birthday and I'm now
Happy
56, thank you. Time flies by so fast, just so fast. It just goes so fast. But I went to law school with the sole purpose and intent of coming out to do first party property insurance coverage litigation. And that's exactly what I did. And I opened my law firm now, and we have attorneys licensed in 10 states, and we have claims in 10 states, and cases in 10 states. See, I still call it claims. I can't get the public adjuster out of it.
I still call mine jobs. I get it. The same thing. We had 4 jobs came in this morning. Like what? Oh, sorry, claims. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly. That contractor mentality, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think part of your success, Stephen, is that you do have, and I feel the same way. Man, dude, I was a contractor for over 20 years. So I remember waking up at 3 a.m, checking my Chase account to make sure the wire came in from the insurance because I could pay the guys, right? So I lived and breathed that forever. And it beat our ass. It took a toll on my wife at that time, my kids, it was tough. I'm not going to kid. We were doing 15, 20 million a year back then. And we were floating 3-4 million at a time. It was god awful, bro. Oh my God.
Yeah. It is, being an entrepreneur, owning a business is not for the weak. You have to have a lot of you have to have a lot of faith. All right.
Oh man.
And when I say faith, I don't mean just faith in yourself. You have to have faith in your staff, your abilities, and you have to have some faith in God, because there'll be lots of nights when I've been on my knees, back in the day, man, saying, Lord, please get me through this one. I don't know what we're going to do here, but he did. So it's very stressful. And there are lots of skill sets to running a business that you can hear about in school. You can learn about them in books, but until you go through them, and you have to experience the highs and the lows and the way to keep things even during those times, it's a whole different skill set in and of itself. But it does take a toll on you, and it did on me. I mean, like I said, all this happened when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and 40s, going to law school.
Man,
so I never had an opportunity to stay in one place long enough to develop relationships that would have possibly led to me getting married and having kids. And it didn't happen for me. And
there was no Tinder back then, right? There was
no Tinder.
No Match.com. We had to go to the bars like old school, right?
Yeah. So it was just one of those things, where I woke up one day and I realized that I wasn't going to have children. And for a while I had this was a natural thing that took place now. It wasn't something that I just woke up one day and said, oh, I want kids. It wasn't like that, because I didn't want any children, because I knew my life was a mess as far as being busy, not a mess as being ugly, but a mess as just being busy and traveling all the time. I wasn't going to be there. But there was something inside of me that knew that I wasn't going to leave a legacy, that my branch of the tree was going to stop with me.
Mm.
And that hurt me. It was painful for me for a long time. But I have all these nieces and nephews that I love dearly. And anybody that, as a matter of fact, a lot of people call me Uncle Stephen. They don't, even people who aren't my nieces and nephews call me Uncle Stephen. But so
isn't that crazy that the drive for business? I put my family second quite a bit too in my younger days, because you get on that hamster wheel, right?
Right.
And you're just going, and you don't know if it's Saturday or Tuesday or Wednesday. You just go. And you don't know when the hell to get off, and you're afraid to get off because it becomes your identity. Like if work wasn't going well, I would go home as a complete asshole. And, my kids recently just say, man, Dad, we didn't know you were actually halfway decent human until recently. Right. So
when you started learning how to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, it comes with, dude, I'll be 56 in May. So we're very similar in age, but I think that comes in, I see it all the time on Facebook and all the groups too, man. These guys are I think the industry is getting better though. I've noticed about, I think the cool part is there's more of us running so I've been so lucky in this venture that I have strong business people behind me. Cause I'm more of the front guy, man. I'm more of the type A, go. And I got people behind me guiding the ship, because you know what I mean? That's not my strong suit. My strong suit is being out front, doing stuff like this, you know, going to events and being out front. But man, I think what I like about this business, it's changing quite a bit. There's more business oriented people doing this now than it was when you and I were in contracting or roofing, or we were just doing it because we were doing it. There was no logic to it. There was no plan. Now there seems guys with plans, which I think is important. That's why we're all growing so much, I think, hopefully.
Yeah. And you know, you're right. You kind of hit on something there that I think is really important. And that is that once you get in business to be successful, and once you are successful, you have to stay successful.
Oh.
And staying successful is what puts you on that wheel, that hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times success breeds more success. So
Yes.
you get bigger and bigger and bigger, right?
Yes.
And the bigger you get, the more headaches you have, the more responsibilities,
Yeah.
the more pressure that comes, and you have to learn how to deal with that. And again, you and I didn't have the luxury of somebody sitting down with us and saying, okay, look, this is how you take care of this. This is how you handle this. This is how you still make time for family and for business. But you're right. And I'll tell you now, I have 2 people in my organization that I've worked with for 25 years. They're still working with me today. And I could not do what I do if they didn't do what they did. And they are a vital part of why I have been successful. I would not have been successful on my own but what I did learn early on is to seek out people who are strong where I'm weak.
Yeah.
And let them be strong and empower them to do their job. And if you empower people to do their job and let them be strong where you can excel where you are strong,
right?
Now you got a team. And together that team can go and grow. If you look at Bill Gates, you look at the Apple guy, Steve Jobs, the guy from Amazon, you look at Elon Musk, you look at any very successful individual, I don't care who he is, there's always somebody else that's been with them a long time that's helped them get to where they are. They're just like you and me, Jack. They're just the front man.
Yeah.
The real people are behind. And I have a very great team. Like, you know, a lot of people laugh and say that Katie in my office runs the show. Well, she does.
Right.
And there's a reason why.
I have
why
Kenny.
she runs the show.
I have Kenny, who you met in Houston. He's around the corner. And if I didn't have Kenny, and also my partner Doug, we would not be. They're 90% of they do all the stuff behind the scenes. Nobody knows who they are. Nobody hears from them. However, they're grinding out stuff left and right. It's insane because I would last about 18 seconds in that role. Right.
Yeah, me too. There's things I'm strong at and things I'm not, but I have learned to put people in positions who are strong where I'm weak and let them be strong. And
you know once in a while, right?
That's right. And I'll tell you, a lot of people have asked me, how has your firm been so successful? Why have you been so successful as a law firm? And I can tell you the only thing that I had to do with it was I was smart enough to go out and find people and attorneys who were smarter than me.
Yeah.
And I recognized their skill sets. All right. And then I put them in place. Like we have a trial coming up next week. We have 2 other trials that are scheduled, 3 other trials scheduled behind this until the end of June. So we're going to be in full-fledged trial prep mode around here for the next 3 months.
Good Lord.
Well, but I have 2 attorneys in my office that I purposely had sought out and had them come to our firm because of their ability to be great trial attorneys. And that's what they're doing. That's why they're here. And I fully expect that we're going to be successful in all these cases and winning them because of their skill set. But I stay out of it. You know, I don't try to, of course I oversee it, but I let them do their job. And then I just oversee what they're doing to make sure it's getting done.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of being an attorney is different from being a litigator. Am I right? Not all attorneys are great in court and great in trial. But a lot of you, it's a different skill set, I'm guessing. I mean, correct?
Well, right. So we have an attorney who does drafting, right? That's the person who never sees the courtroom. They just draft. then we have litigators who litigate the case to trial, and then we have trial attorneys.
Ooh.
So there's actually 3 different sets of attorneys, and you need them all. And in my office, I have them all. I have a couple attorneys who do nothing, and they don't want to do anything except draft our documents, do legal research, and write our motions and things of that sort. And then I have litigators who don't want to do anything except litigate, negotiate, and push things through. And then I've got trial attorneys who all they want to do is go into the courtroom. They want to argue those. They want to argue those motions. They want to argue at trial. And it takes a great balance for what we do in this industry. Your firm has to be balanced out, in my opinion.
I love that.
Right, that's my opinion. Your great friend and my self-proclaimed mentor, Chip Merlin, is a great example. Chip might not agree with that, but based upon my experience and what I've seen from my firm, that's how we've been able to be successful, because I put people who had specific skill sets in place to do what they do and move forward.
Well, it seems like a different mindset for each thing. One's more methodical, one's more emotional, one's more the front guy, one's more the mechanic, if you know what I mean?
That's right. A great litigator has to also be a great negotiator.
Right.
All right. So somebody who likes to write and research may not be good at negotiation. So
and you're more salesy person. The more flashy dudes are the guys at the end of the going to trial, I'm guessing, right?
Well, actually not. The litigators are the more flashier guys.
Really?
Yep. The guys that go to trial aren't necessarily flashy, but what they are, and to me, we were just talking about this last night. They are genuine.
Great word.
They're believable.
Great word.
And the juror trusts them to be telling them the truth, and they trust that what they're saying is truthful, right? So you need somebody who's polished a little bit for trial. You need somebody who is can control their emotions and not let them get out of control. A litigator, on the other hand, he's not very polished. He's not very he's very emotional. Always, fighting, negotiating, that's the litigator.
Interesting.
The trial guy takes the emotion out of it and goes and tells the story. He's a storyteller. That's what a trial attorney does.
I've never ever thought of it that way. That's great. I mean, it's once again, it's a different mindset for each one of those roles, and
that's exactly right.
And we're set up very similar here. I have a couple guys and myself that are the front guys. We go out, we're banging the drums and the tambourine, we're doing podcasts, we're on stage, and we're bringing the work in. Then I have a documentation team. All they do is go around and document and photograph and video and right, scope. And then I have a group. All they do is they take all that information when the estimate's done, and they submit and they grind these claims out. And they grind and they grind and they grind, and they make 20 calls a day and 50 emails a day. And you couldn't take one of those other guys and move them to a different spot because their brains don't work that way. And we found the same thing. Everybody has a role here. And if we're all sticking to our roles, it works. I mean, we did 400 and some claims in Ida because we had some sort of a system going in there that if we didn't, it was chaotic enough, you know that, right? But we went in there with the plan and we executed the plan and we tweaked it as we went. But the plan, you have to, just like you guys, when you guys have a claim come in, you guys have to have a plan, right? And every claim's different, I'm sure, right? You don't just say, I'm doing this every time, right? Don't you look at it and kind of put it in the best field you can, I'm guessing, right?
We do. That's exactly right. And I'll give you a great example. But first, before I say that, I want to say that now you see why I set my law firm up that way, because that's how my public adjusting firm was set up, as that same way as what you're saying. Yep, same way. So you can take the guy out of the public adjusting, but you can't take the public adjusting out of the guy. So it was successful for me there, and it's been successful for me here.
If you think about it too, that's how insurance companies are set up as well. They have their guys in the field and they have their desk adjusters and also their other departments. So we must be doing something right if we're copying, the big red machine over there a little bit.
We didn't even know we were doing it that way.
By accident, right? Interesting.
But talking about claims when they come in, Now, I'll give you another good example of what happened. So I have a big church claim that came in, and the pastor has been making repairs to the church since Hurricane Irma.
Oh,
He's passed the 3-year mark and decided, and he was told by a public adjuster that he needed to file a claim. So he filed a claim, and the claim was after the date, the 3-year mark to submit Irma claims.
okay.
All right. So we get into litigation, and we start to realize that we have some conflicting testimony that's going to come out, because we can't have the pastor testify that he didn't have any Irma damage, because he did, and he's been making repairs, right? So you can't hide that. That's truth. But when we talked to the public adjuster was, well, yeah, he did have Irma damage, but he made all those repairs. Those were done. But what happened is he had another storm, and that storm date that I gave them caused additional damages, and that's what we're claiming. And so in order to set this up, because the pastor didn't see it that way, the public adjuster put all the evidence together and saw it that way. So we had to now involve the roofer. And so we called the roofer, and we were like, hey, look, you've been making these repairs. Did you make all the repairs? And he said, yes. And so when we took that case in, the very first thing we had to do was we had to think about how we were going to draft the complaint, right? Because when you're drafting a complaint, you want to draft it in a manner. So first off, you don't get a motion to dismiss. You don't want them dismissing it.
Right.
Secondly, you want to draft it in a manner so that you restrict the insurance company's attorneys from filing all these affirmative defenses. And so sometimes it's very strategic, and sometimes you just draft a shell of a complaint when you don't have anything, so you can get information back.
Oh, I see.
In the answer. So yeah, you approach every claim differently.
So sometimes you would be very targeted, and sometimes you want to have a broad stroke, I'm guessing, right?
Exactly. It all depends on the facts that are there, and how you can use those facts to best put your client in the best light.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times we don't, I mean, this shocks what I do. We have a training coming up, you and I, in Nashville, which I'm very excited about, by the way.
Yeah, me too.
I think Donnie's more excited about, he could wear cowboy boots. So a lot of guys get shocked by, sometimes we'll get a claim, and we'll do our notice of rep, and we'll send it in, and we'll wait for the carrier, because I want them to blink first, right? And a lot of I get frustrated. A lot of PAs and roofers especially go out running and gunning, and here's my estimate, $6.4 million. Well, guess what happens to that, right? That thing is going legal about 18 seconds, and every expert in the world is going to be assigned to that claim. Next thing you know, we're behind the 8 ball. And then if we turn over to you guys and you're so what we do is let them blink first. I want them to go out, find some damage, even write a really crappy engineer report, because those things can be shot holes in all day and all night. So blinking first is like a big, I've learned that. It took me a while, but I learned that we don't want, because I got so, as a contractor, I was so in the mode of writing the estimate, right? Because that triggered money for us. In this world, sometimes we want to sit back and watch and listen and let them step in the different buckets of, you know what, because we can get to the finish line better. So I'm sure you guys do. I'm sure you're the same way, right? Because you want information back from them, see what their cards, right?
The biggest thing that that we have in our firm is we don't ever get all of the story. And whether it's and it's public adjusters,
yeah,
and contractors. Listen, if anybody should be telling us the whole story so that we can figure out how to best put the case in the best position possible to win, it's the public adjuster and the contractor. But inevitably, they withhold information, they don't give us all the documentation, and we wind up learning about it later and having to fix it on the back end. And it's sometimes it's too late. It's just too late.
So that's my thing too, is reason why we started doing some of these trainings is we do a lot of appraisal work for other PA firms. I won't mention any names, and we get this stuff in, and I'm very befuddled because it's not clean. There's wrong information, there's wrong dates, there's just a muddled information, and we have to go through and dissect all that, which it kind of goes back to the whole industry as a whole. I think we need to do better as an industry, number one, to gather the facts, because that's what's important. And that's what drives the claim, is the data loss and the policy.
Right.
Everything else is gobbledygook, really. And then I get, I'm sure, tell me how frustrating it is to get a big pile of crap on your desk, have to clean it up. And then do you ever like just say, you can't fix it? Or, I mean.
Well, you know what? I kind of practice this method of make lemons out of lemonade. You probably remember the show Boston Legal.
Oh God, you are old.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So I was watching Boston Legal one time, and this was before I ever became an attorney now. And Alan went in and he was talking to Denny Crane, and Denny Crane, was the crazy guy on there. And Alan had been working this case, and he said, Denny, I'm lost. We're going to lose this case. I've got trial tomorrow, and I'm just not going to win it. But I just want you to know this will be my first loss. I'm just going to have to take it. I'm not going to make it. And then he looked at him and he said, Alan, he said, when you're at the end and you can't figure out what to do, pull a rabbit out of a hat. And so it flips over, and Alan's in trial, and he's up there talking to this witness, and he's doing his thing. And suddenly the doors to the courtroom bust open, and a big light shines in, like the sun coming through, and Al Sharpton walks through the courtroom doing his thing, and he says, Your Honor, it's Al Sharpton. And he throws the witness off the stand, and Al Sharpton gets up there and he starts, preaching, doing Al Sharpton kind of stuff. And Alan wound up winning that case. And that has stuck with me these years. And it stuck with me because it's like, look, when you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hold on. Just hold on. Something somewhere has got to give. And so we do have them come in all the time, and they're a mess. And we have been very successful. I mean, I off the top of my head, I can think of about 6 cases.
Oh, wow.
Where we should have gotten zero money, and we were able to get the clients indemnified because we just held on, and we just kept pushing, and we kept explaining, and trying to get things through. And we did that. As a matter of fact, Trey had one recently, and Donnie and Trey both had one recently in our office where there's just no way under the sun that they should have gotten a penny. And both of them got the clients indemnified just by holding on. Now, you can't, as attorneys, and we should, and I want to talk about this because you mentioned this and touched on it. I am not a proponent of overinflating estimates.
Oh God.
Do not do it.
I just had a conversation with an estimator. We were interviewing right before I got on a call with you. He asked me my thoughts on that. So what I tell my clients is, if this microphone is damaged and it's $111, we can get you $111.
That's right.
I can't get you $235 because that's not real. And once you do that, your credibility is out the window.
That's right. I have stopped working with some contractors and public adjusters because of fraudulent scopes. And that's what it is. It's straight up fraud.
Yeah.
And I want to be a part of it. Listen, you can win by being honest. You can win by being truthful. You know what the magical word is in negotiations? No. All right. Sir, you want 100,000? We'll give you 40,000. No, I need 100. All right. Well, instead of 40, we'll give you 45. No, I need 100. You just say no, and you say no enough until you get them close enough to where you need them to be. Right.
Right.
And then you keep massaging it until you push them to where it needs to be. But you don't have to come down on your scope. You don't have to overinflate it to know that you're going to come down 40%.
Right.
Please don't do that. For God's sakes, don't do that.
Why do you think that is? That, I mean, a lot of, and I'm with you. I'm on board. That's our motto in here. Like it is what it is. And I'll die preaching that. Why do you think a lot of public adjusters, do that. A lot of roofers do that. Instead of just going in being right, they think they can just add stuff that's not even there to get a fictitious number that they want to be at. Like, why?
All right, we're going to get real psychological now, okay?
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about human nature.
Okay.
All right, human nature is we do the same thing over and over and over and over again, right? Until it doesn't work. When it doesn't work, it's in our nature to change the way we're doing things, to make it work again. So when we change the way we're doing things and it works that one time, now we got to do it that way. Now we got to do it that way all the time, right?
Yep.
And so that's what's happened. Somebody somewhere told someone else, look, they're going to negotiate with you. Yeah, so go ahead and inflate it a little bit. Put you some pad in there so that you'll know that you got that pad. So you're really going to get them where you need them to be. Well, guess what? They know that.
Yeah.
They already know that. They know that that's happening in the industry. And that's why they're trying to call everybody out on this fraud. We got to stop it. We can't let it happen. So that's one thing. The other thing is poor negotiation skills. Listen, if you want to be a great, successful public adjuster, and if you want to be a great, successful attorney, you better learn how to be a great negotiator. So you need to be learning all you can about negotiations and learn all you can about human nature.
Yeah.
How are people acting and reacting? How do you get somebody from point A to point Z, but based upon their nature, right? So if somebody calls me on the phone, if I get an opposing counsel on the phone and he's very, very aggressive and just hateful with me, I diffuse him. And usually what I say is, look, obviously you and I don't need to have this conversation right now because you're having a bad day. And I'm sorry you're having a bad day. So I tell you what, let's set this call up for sometime next week when you're in a better mood.
Right.
and immediately they're going, what? I'm in a good mood. I'm like, well, Are you really? Come on. Let's me and you be truthful here. You really in a good mood? And so by just diffusing them, taking the steam out of them, right? You can get them where you need to be. Now, I'll give you another great example. You ever been in an argument with somebody and it's like a level playing field, right? Like you're both just at it. Nobody's getting anywhere, right?
Yep.
So if you really want to get somewhere, what you may have to do with some types of people is you may have to make them really, really mad, take them all the way up until they pop. And then when they pop, they come back down. And now you can reason with them, right?
Yeah, get the emotion out of that thing.
Get the emotion out of them, right? Get the emotion out of them. Now you can reason with them. And I have to do that sometimes with clients, because I'm going to tell you something, man. Clients come in here and they come in thinking their case is worth $10 million and it's only worth $40,000.
Yep.
And sometimes
they're emotionally scarred if you think about it, man. I mean, can you imagine going home tonight and your roof is blown off? You've been living in a trailer for a week and a half and your shit's destroyed and you get a check for 11 grand. So it's
I had a client. She was had a hole in her bathroom. And listen, when I'm talking about hole in her bathroom, I'm talking about skylight hole, like skylight. It was huge. She had a tree that fell through and the limb went through her bathroom, and the insurance company wouldn't pay for emergency services. And so all the roofer did was went there and put a tarp on it, right? Yep. But it was a hole, and she lived like that for 3 years. And
3 years.
3 years. And I actually had it was a universal case. And Universal actually told me they weren't going to pay for that claim. And I said, well, you're going to pay for this one and you can go pay dearly for it. And they did. But as a matter of fact, we had her on our social media page about that. But she was happy as a lark 3 years because they just abused her. And you know what? And I'm seeing this pretty rampant with insurance carriers. If you live on the wrong side of the tracks, if you're not the right color, if you don't speak English the way they expect you to speak English, your claim's not going to get paid fairly. And I'm seeing a trend happen.
No kidding.
Yes. And my office has been exploring what we can do to handle this in the next storm if we see this abuse take place from the carriers. If you're the wrong sex, it happens. We've been seeing some of that as well, and it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
I think a lot of us are in this business because, you know what, I feel like we wear capes, a lot of us, most of us, and it's I feel so, I get excited when the mail comes. I'm a mail freak, right? I love getting the mail because I see these checks every day that, Kenny brings them in, and there's a State Farm and a Travelers and a UPC, and it's cool when winning's cool, right? And making these people whole, these businesses whole from the crap they had, the stuff we see, man, it's just, and to be fair, on both sides, like you said, it's insane. You can tell these stories, and it's mind-boggling sometimes. I had a claim in Perdido Key, Florida, on the beach, hit by a Category 4 hurricane. It got denied because it was pre-existing. The roof was gone. I'm like, what the hell's wrong with you? Seriously, the IA is like, I don't see. I'm like, whatever. It's just
the roof is gone and you don't see it.
Yeah, because I know. Yeah, it's mind-boggling, some of the stuff that goes on both sides.
It is, and everybody, including the insurance company, needs to tamp it down.
Yeah.
We need to get back to right. So the pendulum has been swinging like this, right? We need to get the pendulum back to the middle, and so that we can cooperate together to try to get these claims resolved, get them resolved fast. But it's not going to happen. As a matter of fact, I'm seeing more and more division and more separation every day. It seems like with the carriers, and it's coming. A lot of it is coming through litigation.
Yeah.
Where we're hearing defense attorneys saying, "Look, dude, I want to pay you. I'm with you. I see it. You've proven your case to me, but I can't get my inside litigation adjuster to pay the claim. They won't get any authority." So I asked this question. Now, wait a minute. What do you mean they won't get any authority, or they don't have any authority? No, they won't go get authority because they don't think that they should pay it. I said, so they haven't even asked. No, haven't even asked. And so they're pushing us to a place to where we have to litigate harder now. And litigation is taking a little bit longer now because of the stance that they're taking.
Yeah.
And listen, my office has 4 trials in 3 months. 4 trials in 3 months. Do you know how many law firms haven't had a trial in 4 years?
Oh, I'm sure a majority of them, right?
And I got 4, and I've got 4 in 3 months. So we're litigating hard, and we're litigating them to the bitter end. But it's because carriers are just taking the stance now that they're not paying claims. They're just not paying them.
Look how many carriers in Louisiana went bankrupt the last couple of months now. What, 3?
Florida. Look at Florida. Yeah, and we have a special session being called in May now to deal with the insurance crisis, as they call it, in Florida. And I think we're going to get hit again. We're going to get hurt. They're going to do a lot more of this legislative session, I think, than before. And
so the carrier basically in Florida is saying they're running out of money in a nutshell, right?
That's right. And they're saying it's because of fraudulent roof claims and because of plaintiffs' attorneys litigating them to the hilt. And that's not true. That's not true. So number one, let's address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is fraudulent roof claims. Jack, you and I have a long experience. I've been almost 20 years in this business. I have never in my life, on any claim that I've been involved in, whether it be from a contractor, public adjuster, or now case, where an insurance company paid a roof claim that wasn't legitimate. If it wasn't legitimate, they didn't pay it.
Oh, yeah, never, ever, ever.
Never. So my question is where's the fraudulent roof claims at? Where are they? Because you're paying them, and you wouldn't be paying them if they were fraudulent. You'd be turning them into the state. You would be fighting it for fraud, and you're not doing that. So
I think part of the problem is, and Steve Badger touched on this on Win the Storm on stage with John Hotelling, is he basically said that all the door knocking roofers and PAs are killing the golden goose. So what happened, back in the day, we didn't have all these storm chasing contractors, right? So they had, instead of having, would have 20 claims in a neighborhood. Now they have 3,000 claims in a neighborhood. So the claims are skyrocketing. And because it's, between, Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, there's a million roofers, a million PAs out there banging on doors. And every time a hailstorm hits, man, you go to SVG, you go to Level the Playing Field, these other groups. How many storm chasing guys are out there? hundreds and thousands. So the claim ratios are through the roof.
That's true. But if the damage wasn't
Oh, I
there,
agree with you. No,
they
I
wouldn't
agree.
pay the claim.
But I'm
Right?
saying, so what happened was, I think back in the early days, nobody knew they had roof damage, right? I mean, I
Right.
lived in Indiana until 1988. We had hail all the time. We never put a roof claim in. We had hail busting through our windows. My dad would just fix it, right? We never.
Yeah.
So I think the consumer wasn't educated enough back then, and that the insurance companies loved it because they're, I'll do a whole thing on this too in the training when we do it. Insurance companies to me are marketing companies. They're not insurance companies. They're marketing. That's all they're doing. They're bringing money in, holding it, and limiting what they pay out. That's marketing. That's not insurance.
That's
for God's
right.
sake.
Well, we also do a training class where we offer CE credits and things. And in that class, I always tell people, look, public adjusters, you are a voice for the policyholder.
Yep.
All right. The insurance company smothers them out. They ignore them. They just send them letters. They don't talk to them on the phone. They don't take their calls. They shut them out so they don't have a voice. You become their voice. Be the best voice you can be for your client. Be the voice that speaks truth, that speaks with clarity, that speaks with honesty. All right. Be the one that puts the claim in the best light for the policyholder. But you got to work at that. That takes work. Sometimes you have to sit down with a claim, or for us with a case, and sometimes I'll sit down and I'll take 3 or 4 hours sometimes on a case, and I lay it out. I'll have stuff all over the floor. I'll have it all over my desk, and I'm just laying it out, looking at it, thinking about it, trying to figure out how I can put this claim or this case. I call them claims because
I got you.
I just can't get it out of my head. But I look at them. How can I be the best voice that I can be for this client, for this policyholder? And I tell public adjusters all the time, your job is the same as an attorney's.
Yep.
The only difference is I can file a lawsuit. Other than that, you do the exact same thing, other than litigate. And so you need to be focusing on how you can be the best voice, how your voice can be heard. And listen, I used to get claims paid as public adjusters just by a phone call because they knew me and they knew I was honest. And I can do that now in some cases with certain defense attorneys. They'll call me when I file a lawsuit and say, hey, this lawsuit's been assigned to me. I know you. Let's don't fight. Let's work it out. Give me a number. And so I'll go through the scope with them on the phone.
Yeah.
And because I was a public adjuster and a contractor, I know how to read these things. And so I'm going through and I'm telling them, okay, look, so here's where we are. If we're at $1,600 a square, $1,650, $1,700 a square for tile roof at the end, then I'm like, then why are you giving me a hard time about this?
Right.
You should pay this roof.
Yep.
And so, you can kind of bring them to a place because of who you are. But I get these scopes where they've got these tile roofs scoped out at, listen to this, $3,800 a square for a tile roof.
We're going to do it twice, right?
Like, what? And it's just a clay tile.
Yeah.
It's just a clay tile.
So we do EOS meetings in here. We did our end of year in December, and my job as the CEO of the company and the visionary was my task was to have a vision for the company for this year. And I broke it down very simply after I thought about it for a while. And I said, we simply want to be the most respected public adjusting firm in the country. That's our thing, and what that means, Stephen, is I want to be respected by number one, our vendors, our attorneys, our employees, our clients, but I also want to be respected by the insurance companies for being fair and honest and
tough.
Right.
Tough.
And yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Like, right is right, wrong is wrong, right?
That's right.
If it's $1,843 for a tile roof in Miami, Florida, once again, that's going to be my thing. So my goal is when we send those notice of reps over via email to State Farm at fireclaimcentral.com, I want them to go, oh, it's velocity again. All right. Well, at least we know we're going to get it done right. I mean, that's what I want. I don't want some bullshit like, oh, screw these guys, or I don't want that. I think respect is the missing word that a lot of firms, attorney firms, roofing firms, PA firms are missing because they're trying to do, there's no shortcut to this, dude, is there? It's hard.
There's not. There isn't. That's right. There is no shortcut. You have to go through the motions. You have to do the right things, and you have to present and prove the damages.
Yes.
Because listen, that's the first burden that the policyholder has.
Yep.
The policyholder has two things that they have to do immediately. They have to provide prompt notice of the claim.
Yep.
Right? Well, three things. They have to mitigate any damages, and then they have to show the damages. In other words, prove the damages, show them to the carrier, and then the carrier can do their job. But what I'm seeing over and over and over and over again is that public adjusters and contractors aren't doing these first three things properly.
No.
They're not encouraging their prospective clients and customers to give prompt notice.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I had a public adjuster call me about a water loss, and it hadn't even been turned into the carrier yet for a claim, and they've been 3 weeks out. They're 3 weeks out. So my question was, what did you do for 3 weeks? What have you been doing? Well, I had the mitigation company come in and mitigate. I had a plumber come in and tear up the floor. I had this done. I had that done. And I said, okay, and you still haven't called the insurance company. Still haven't called the insurance company. What should I do? Call the insurance company.
Boy, they're risking the prompt notice. Oh my God.
All right. So we failed at prompt notice in that instance, right? The second thing they didn't do that the carrier that they did do was to mitigate. All right. So they did do that. The third thing was that how are they going to show the damages? So I asked, so what'd you do with the floor? They threw that away. That's gone. All right. Well, where's the concrete of where you dug up the?
Where's your moisture map, right? Yeah, all that.
Where is all this? Well, they didn't have anything. And so my question was, where's the pipe? What happened to the pipe that was there? What broke it? Did anybody taking pictures of it? No, nobody taking pictures. They did it when I wasn't there, and they fixed it, and the pipe's gone. We don't have the pipe. And I'm like, okay, so what you want from me?
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
That's because people they get so intimidated by the insurance company. They think they're going to get one over. Like after 35 years, I've not gotten one over the carrier. Have you?
No.
Yeah, there's no magic bullet. There's no rainbow. We don't have unicorns running around our office. It's just.
We're talking about human nature.
Yep.
And human nature in all of us is to take the path of least resistance.
Yep.
That's our human nature, is to take the path of least resistance. Well, you can't do that. And so I want to say two things about that. One, Jack, that's why you and I are successful, because we don't take the path of least resistance. Because the path of least resistance is for us to go work for somebody else and let them fool with all this mess that we have to fool with, right?
Yeah.
That's the path of least resistance. Secondly, these claims are hard, and some of them are complex, and they're difficult. And the facts are not always in our favor because homeowners don't know, and they mess it all up, right? But so that makes it difficult for us. But we, as professionals, both as attorneys, public adjusters, and even contractors, we have the job of fixing all that and making all that right and putting it in the best light possible. But listen, we can't hide it. You can't hide it because it comes out. The truth always comes out
every time.
So just don't even try to hide it. Just say, look, she didn't know. So she called the mitigation company. They came in, they tore it all up, and here it is. She didn't take pictures. They didn't take pictures. We don't have any documentation. But here's what I can tell you. She can explain to you where the water was. And then you figure it out from there, right? So there are ways to get around all this stuff. But you got to sit back sometimes and think about it. You got to plan. You got to figure it out. And that's the hard part, is figuring out how you're going to overcome some of these difficulties. But you can do it. You can do it.
It takes a lot of work, a lot of effort, man.
It does. But you know what? I love it. I wouldn't be doing anything else. I love it. I love my job.
I was 49 when I became a PA, or 48, whatever it was. And I wish I would have, so I always have one question at the end of these things. And I'm going to answer this myself. My only regret or my thing, I wish I had done this sooner. It's my thing. So I'm going to, if you had to go back to a young Stephen Bush, pre-law school, pre-contractor, and you could give yourself any advice as you're getting out of college, what advice, I'm not asking you to change anything. I'm just talking about, what advice would you give yourself?
Stop freaking out. Relax.
Yeah.
Calm down. Stop worrying.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Just calm down, because I'm a worrier by nature.
Okay.
And so I worry about the details and things. And the other thing that is you're learning a lot about my flaws today, but one of the flaws that I have is I'm a perfectionist.
Okay.
And I say that's a flaw because I take it the way people perceive me, the way I do things, the way I handle myself. I want everything to be perfect, and sometimes that causes me great stress.
Right.
And I just need to as I've gotten older, I've learned, you don't have to be perfect.
Damn close though.
Right, but you got to be close. but you don't have to be exactly perfect.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, the drive to be successful was so strong in me, Jack, that it overtook me sometimes.
Yep.
Because I wanted to be successful so badly.
Yep.
And I yearned for it, which is why I kept going, and I kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing and doing. And that drive sometimes drove me crazy.
Yeah.
And I wish I could go back and I could just tell myself, you know what, it's going to be okay. Everything's going to work out. You need to stop freaking out.
Celebrate the small stuff too, right? You know what I mean?
You just need to relax. Yeah. And I have a thing around here. We celebrate victories around here. Even the small ones we celebrate in my office, because that is so important. I did not enjoy the journey until I became an attorney. When I became an attorney, I said to myself, Stephen, you've worked so hard to get where you are.
Yeah.
And you've not enjoyed a minute of it.
Wow.
Calm down.
Same
relax.
thing. Yeah. Yep.
Enjoy yourself a little bit and have fun with it. And that's what I'm saying. I'm having fun as an attorney, and I love doing what I'm doing. And I wouldn't be doing anything else but helping people. And I feel like we are their voice. Yep. And we help them in their biggest time of need, because most of these people don't have $100,000 to put their house back together.
Or $100,000 to pay you, or pay us. Yeah, because that's for all contingency. Exactly. No, we are in that. That's the cool part about our business, man. We work hard. Most of us strive to do the right thing, and then when you're successful, you actually make a pretty damn good living at this.
Yeah,
I can't complain.
You can do very well. Yeah, I can either. I've been very, very blessed. But I can tell you what, I do wish that I had done it maybe a little bit sooner in life, but I also have this belief that God puts you where you're supposed to be at the right time, and what He's got for you, nobody else is going to get.
Yeah.
So you'll wind up where you're supposed to be if you just do the right things and just work hard. But the key to true success is enjoying it. And I didn't do that for many years. I wish I had.
Same story, man. Until the last 3 or 4 years, man, I really just, started kicking back, and do Friday night, I grab a bottle of wine and go out to dinner, and we both enjoy that. Right. And it's a
little
cool.
Too much.
Yeah. Well,
Listen, you want to treat me to a good time, just take me to a nice restaurant where we can take a long meal. We order a few appetizers here, a few there, have some cocktails, move into the wine, and then we move into there. I like a long drug out dinner with good company, just sitting around talking, just having a good time and enjoying people. I love that more than anything.
That's why we get along so well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dude, Steve, this has been, I enjoy our newfound relationship and our friendship, man. I think you're great. I love the background. We're very parallel in that stuff. We both got our asses beat in for a long, long time. And I'm very proud of what you got. Your office looks beautiful and great. And Your staff has always treated my people wonderfully and gracious and responsive, which is a big thing for us PAs, is to get email. I mean, within minutes, you guys are getting back to us on stuff. It's amazing. I so appreciate that.
Well, you know where that comes from, because as a public adjuster, I worked with these same law firms a lot of people are working with, and they didn't do that for me. So I set my firm up for that particular reason, is we cater to our referral sources.
Yep.
Because they are invaluable.
Oh, that's the pipeline, bro. Right.
Yes. We couldn't do it without them. And I'm so grateful to all of them.
So
Listen,
May
4th,
4th,
man, I have a lot of respect for you too. And I, you and my friend Frank Dalton were up for that award.
Yep.
And either one of you guys would have been great, but I'm so grateful that you won that, and that you deserve it, and you've done a good job there with your claims, and I think you are. I think you set out to do exactly what you said, because every time anybody talks about you or your firm, it's always with a lot of admiration and respect.
Oh, I appreciate that. I mean, it's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but it's all worth it at the end. So
a lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah. Hey, May 4th, May 5th, Nashville, Tennessee. You guys are sponsoring one of our trainings there, one of our training days. I'm excited to have you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna have a little cocktail party at the end. Donnie and Max have been planning this. Now, Max puts on a pretty good party. So, so I told him, I said, listen, now don't break the bank, because we are in Nashville.
You know what? Whatever happens in Nashville stays in Nashville, Steve. We have your Amex card on file, so we'll be all right. So
that's right.
No, it's cool. Right. Now, if you want to give your contact information, how to get a hold of you the best way, and what states you're servicing, give a little 3 or 4 minute spiel here on Stephen Bush Law Group here.
I appreciate it very much. All right, so we're the Bush Law Group, located in Jacksonville, Florida. So we're pretty easy to find, especially on Facebook. A lot of people follow us there, but you can always reach out to me through Katie. And it's katie@bushlawgroup.net, KATIE @bushlawgroup.net. Or you can find us on the web at bushlawgroup.net, or you can call our office at 904-552-1006. And we service pretty much the East Coast of the United States and Texas. We just opened an office out in Texas, and I've got a phenomenal team out in Texas. That Trey Flournoy in my office is actually heading up that team out there. But we do New Jersey, Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and Illinois. And I think I got them all in. But
I lose track myself. Like, we have 38, and I'm like, I know the ones we're not in easier than the ones we're in, So.
Now, there are a lot of, I get a lot of claims for out West, and we've been taking them, and I've got some strategic partnerships out West that we've been working with, because people trust us and they want us to handle their claims. So we've been taking them and working with other firms to let us go in pro hac vici, which is basically the attorney's way of getting into a state they're not licensed in, so that we can practice in those states as well.
Beautiful, man. Well, congrats on everything, Stephen. You guys are well deserved, and once again, hard work pays off, right? So
yeah.
Anyway, we appreciate it. This thing will be up on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music. Like us and get us more reviews. This thing is blowing up. So this podcast has been great. It's getting to know you guys as people, right? To get the inside scoop is really what's important on this stuff. So
that's it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Man. Thank you so much, Stephen.
Thanks for tuning in to the Because Experience Matters podcast. That's all for today's show. If you want to learn more or work with Jack in person, visit www.thejackhanks.com. Oh, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify to continue to grow the podcast and change the industry.